What's cracking, everybody? James Koh, Ben Gretch here with you. Best Ball Live. We welcome you in. We're going to be drafting a team here, and the draft is underway. I always feel like, Ben, we just do this like by the skin of our teeth. We just jump into the draft real quick. And for those folks who have been watching us, look, we try different strategies every now and again. We're picking 1.8 in this particular draft. And we're changing it up a little bit. You know, in the weeks past, we had done two different teams. This time, I really want to just sit back and like soak in the knowledge that Ben Gretch is going to give people here. But Ben, we're going to draft a team together. We're picking 1.8. What's kind of your mentality when you're picking in this part of the draft?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in the early half of the first round, I think it's a lot easier, especially in the half PPR format in Underdog, to just be comfortable with a stud running back and build from there. Mm-hmm. We're right at that point where it starts to get a little bit interesting, whether we want to take an elite receiver or high end tight end. I don't know if Travis Kelce will be there, but yeah, I mean, I start thinking if zero RB can fall to me in these spots.
I kind of like it. And for me personally, I'm just the running backs in the early portion of the draft, carry with them a lot of risk, in my opinion. If you look at all the guys, except for CMC, who is just an absolute stud. But I love drafting in this 1.8 spot because it allows me to actually take two elite wide receivers and kind of sort of go from there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it gets uncomfortable, certainly, but I'm a big fan of zero RB, especially when you hold steady and wait till pretty late for the running back and get through that running back dead zone. You can still survive at running back, and you can, especially with the way running back ADP is so high right now, you can build some real firepower at wide receiver and tight end and the other positions.
All right, Ben, so what are we thinking here? We're a couple picks away, one pick away now. We really have our choice of wide receiver. Travis Kelce, I imagine, will be around for us there. I don't know. I don't ever see Travis Kelce go this early. Or sometimes you do, but it's rare.
Yeah, and half point PPR, it's a little different in tight end premium formats. But I really like Stephon Diggs this year. I think, or we can go Kelce. I mean, I could go either way with it. But I think Diggs he's my wide receiver one right now. I think he's going to have a monster second season with the Bills. Was obviously phenomenal last year, led the league in catches and yards, and was on a new team. It took a little while to kind of gel, but him and Allen were really on the same page down the stretch. And I just think they build off that, and he's phenomenal this year.
There's nothing about that, that situation where you're like, oh, there's going to be some regression. I don't see it.
Yeah, they don't even use their running backs. They love to throw.
Exactly.
They use Allen's mobility as sort of a run-pass option if they need it. But especially down the stretch last year on key third downs, things like that, when he was getting outside the pocket, he started to learn Diggs' tendencies. Diggs sort of a freestyle route runner, really good route runner. And it just seemed like he was always finding Diggs for first downs and for key throws. I just feel like the targets, the catches, they're all going to be there in spades again this year. And potentially even bigger year than last year.
All right, so now 3 picks away now. Picks here in the top of the second round, just flying off the board. Saw Calvin Ridley, Cam Akers go. For me, that is a big price tag for Cam Akers, and we can get into that in just a bit. But our pick is coming up. Ben, what are you thinking here? We start off the draft, I think, beautifully with Stephon Diggs. I love taking Stephon Diggs there at 1.8, but what are you thinking now?
Well, with these backs going, I mean, I'm looking at Antonio Gibson here often. I mean, I think it's fine to take a running back here, but also I like the other tight ends that are available. There goes Gibson. So
there goes Gibson right before
I have no issue going over to Darren Waller this early. I think all 3 of the elite tight ends should go in the top 15 picks. Basically, they provide such an advantage. We every year we bump up to sort of 4, 5, 6 guys. Tight end 4, tight end 5, tight end 6 type players and are excited about them. But man, like the gap that these truly elite tight ends can provide is massive.
All right, so we take Darren Waller there, and this is what I love about co-drafting a team with somebody. Completely new perspective. I'll be honest with you. For me, it's really hard for me to get away in that spot from somebody like Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, maybe Nuke Hopkins as well. But I like what you're thinking here too, because in this format, best ball is just completely different than redraft, right? And you can't, there's no such thing as streaming. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely. You got to get, that's why these guys at these singular positions at tight end, quarterback, you will see them go a little bit earlier because again, the whole option for streaming is just not there.
Right. Exactly. And, there's also a structural advantage where with Waller, we probably only need to take 2 tight ends now. Yep. I mean, I love getting that pick. And to your point, the streaming thing's huge. This is just a 12-team league. It's not the big best ball mania. I still think there's going to be plenty of upside in this roster as we start to build it out. But at the same time, I feel really comfortable with the points that we're going to get out of Diggs and Waller. I feel like we're going to gain a lot on the field in those spots. Obviously, making up the ground at running back later in the draft is going to be the key point. But I love the start.
Well, I mean, here's the thing too. It's like, when you start off like this, you do have to have a few late round targets that you absolutely love and that you just feel like, okay, if I get those guys, this roster is going to look pretty good. At least from a preseason standpoint, you know what I mean? Like here we are drafting July 1. So it's a little bit different because we do have to do a lot of projecting out. And so much of it is just kind of like, okay, how much tape have we seen on particular players? And I don't know about you. I haven't seen like there are certain players, obviously high profile dudes that I've seen, but it's not like I've gotten into the nitty gritty of like some of these deep targets. But yeah, man, by the way, Waller, it's a consensus now, right? Like Waller, Kelsey's clearly the tight end 1, and I feel like Waller has now kind of emerged as clearly the tight end 2, and then George Kittle is in his own tier as the tight end 3.
Yeah, there's been kind of a push there. I mean, I think everyone sort of universally, the take that was being put out there was Kittle's a better tight end, Waller's a better one for fantasy, and I think that's probably fair. At the same time, I think Kittle's slipping too far too. And in my opinion, all 3 of these guys should go incredibly high in drafts. They just provide such value. And I have no issue taking Kittle as high as we took Waller. I mean, I think he's a really good value right now. Especially you can get some of these guys in the 3rd round. Sometimes it's fantastic.
Right. No doubt about it. Okay. So now 2 picks away. And I'm hoping Terry McLaurin will fall to us. I'm not sure that he will. But what are you thinking, Ben?
Yeah, no, I love that pick. That's who I was eyeing as well. If he doesn't, I start to look at CeeDee Lamb. I like the young receivers with the breakout upside, amazing prospect profile. And McLaurin
he goes. Terry McLaurin sniped 1 pick before us.
Yeah. I like Lamb here. This guy, amazing prospect, was basically on par with Justin Jefferson last year until Dak went down. We're not sure on Dak's health, but assuming he's healthy, and it's tough to take him over Amari too. Obviously teammates, but to me, Lamb's the guy that has the massive ceiling to just be the sort of this like season defining player if he really breaks out in year 2.
The one hesitation that I have on CeeDee Lamb is where he lines up on the field, and I know people are saying, well, why does that matter? Well, hey, listen. If you look at the number of times slot receivers, essentially become top 5 wideouts, it's pretty rare. And it's mostly because if you are that talented, they do kick you outside. I'm not saying CD can't kick outside. It's just that Michael Gallup can't play inside. You know what I'm saying? So because of that, Amari Cooper, they're going to sort of kind of mix and match. Like he plays inside, outside, but Gallup really, has kind of sort of embraced that outside receiver role. And CeeDee Lamb, as we saw last year, I think, something like 75% of his snaps came lined up inside. So that's the only hesitation. I agree with you. Fabulous player, unbelievable route runner, great separation all over the field. But will he have that role where he can really break out downfield? Because we start talking about air yards and those type of things. Yeah. And those things definitely matter when you start talking about the upper tier guys.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. The one kind of sort of saving grace is Dallas is such a vertical offense. Like Randall Cobb, for instance, a couple years ago when he went there, his A-dot jumped like 4 yards. It dropped back down last year in Houston. It was a career high, like 10 point something. which is close to league average for a receiver. He was getting downfield targets in that offense. So hopefully Dallas is, spread enough, vertical enough that we get those downfield CeeDee Lamb targets. Because I agree with everything you just said. The air yards, all of that is very, very important.
All right, so to start off our draft, we're now 3 picks away, going to be 2 picks away pretty soon. Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Darren Waller. Love the build so far, but I mean, I would imagine a lot of folks really like to build through 3 picks, but I don't know how invested you are on 0 RB, but is that what you're thinking here as we're 1 pick away?
Yeah, I mean, this starts to get into the running back dead zone where the value gap between receivers and running backs is gonna widen, and so this is the point where you don't want to lose that advantage. For me right now, the pick's DJ Moore. We're on the clock. I love DJ Moore. Think what he did last year is a lot like what Stephon Diggs did in his last year in Minnesota, where they put him into this downfield role and he still excelled. Mm-hmm. He still was very efficient down the field. He's shown the ability to win at all depths. All we need is the coaching staff and the role and the situation to match the talent, because he can win at all depths. He can add yards after the catch. He showed last year he can be an efficient deep threat if needed. So at worst, you have a guy who's maybe not quite worth this price tag, but maybe he's like a 5th round pick value if he's still in that deep threat only role. But he wasn't like a massive bust. He just didn't really meet expectations last year. The upside is, hey, Curtis Samuel's not there anymore. He kicks inside a little bit more. He actually does get some balls closer to the line of scrimmage, and we get just what happened with Diggs in Buffalo. Obviously, probably not as massive as what happened with Diggs in Buffalo, because the offense won't be like the Bills' passing offense was last year. But just that ability to get targets at all depths and be that true number 1 would just be fantastic for Moore.
2 things with DJ Moore. First of all, again, keep in consideration best ball format, right? The reason DJ Moore was a bit of a disappointment last year was because, my God, he was wildly inconsistent, right? Some weeks he'd give you 20, other weeks he'd give you absolutely nothing, right? And in redraft, that's a problem because it's a weekly league. Well, in best ball, that's not the case, right? We just need those weeks where he pops off for 2 touchdowns, where he goes for 150 and a touch, right? Like, those are the weeks that you're building for. Those are the weeks where you absolutely need on your roster. And that's why DJ Moore as a wide receiver 3 looks very, very enticing. And oh, by the way, Ben, can I say this too? Let's be real. They have an upgrade at quarterback. Whatever you want to say about Sam Darnold, the dude can get the ball downfield. And plus, can we give the guy a little bit of grace, considering he had to basically go his young career with Adam Gase, and now goes to Matt Rule, Joe Brady. Talk about an upgrade for him. I think he is going to stabilize this offense. Yeah, talent-wise, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when you add a guy like DJ Moore, who creates yards after the catch, when you add Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, whose yards per target are always really strong for a running back. Right. You got guys that are going to create yards for you after the catch that he didn't have with the Jets. And he also gets to play with the best receiver he really ever played with the Jets, and Robbie Anderson, who's now in Carolina. So he has way more talent around him I did their projection the other day. And for me, Darnold's efficiency went way up just because I couldn't project DJ Moore any less efficient because of the way he's efficient before and after the catch point. And I couldn't project Christian McCaffrey any less efficient because he's going to create yards after the catch. And those things are going to benefit Darnold. He's going to have his most efficient season in this offense.
All right, we are 4 picks away. I totally bonked on this, but listen, we are giving away a Best Ball Mania 2 entry worth $25 for free. We're giving it away. How do you do it? I know we're getting a little late in the game here, but if you can guess our 5th round or our 6th round pick, we will put you into the drawing, and we will announce a winner later. Now, if there is no right pick, and again, we're coming up on it because we're a couple picks away, we'll revisit this idea a little bit later in the draft. But guess our 5th or 6th round pick, and you'll be entered into that Best Ball Mania 2 giveaway drawing. All right, so now back to the matter at hand, Ben. A couple picks away now, 1 pick away now. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I want to keep pressing the wide receiver advantage. I love T. Higgins, and that's just another guy, another second-year receiver. Back in the day, it was third-year breakouts. These days, it's more like second-year breakouts. grabbing
Sure.
CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins on the same roster, I think is just a lot of firepower for just one of those guys probably has a massive second-year breakout, if not both. So I feel great about that pick.
Any consideration for somebody like Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, same concept. Ayuk, for me, a little bit more concerned about the sort of the volume in the offense.
Right.
Both have sort of target competition, but we know the Bengals are going to throw a ton. Their pass rate over expectation before Burrow got hurt was very high. I think they were higher than expectation, even though their expectation was high because they were trailing. But they were still throwing more than you'd expect for a team that was trailing in a lot of their games. I think it was every week their pass rate over expectation was positive, and they wanted to throw. And I think after you draft Jamar Chase, you're just going to see even more of that.
Right.
Ayuk, to me, I'd like to play San Fran through Deebo Samuel later. I think they should be closer in ADP. I still like Ayuk a ton as a player.
Ayuk obviously is one of those guys that Matt Harmon just is expecting a huge breakout from. If you're not familiar with Matt Harmon's work, obviously has really hyper-focused in on wide receivers, has really graded him out very, very well. But I agree with you. Fantasy is not always about talent. Fantasy is when talent meets opportunity. And will the volume be there? I thought T. Higgins certainly was a fabulous number 2 wide receiver, good in contested catch areas. And boy, people weren't really expecting very much out of T. Higgins at all last year, Ben. And I thought he performed admirably. Now you throw in Jamar Chase into that mix. Boy, I just feel like he's going to be off and cooking.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a rising tide situation for those guys. I think they're both going to be fantastic.
All right, one pick away. What are we thinking? Kyler Murray just went off the board. Josh Allen went off the board.
We have another awesome second-year breakout option in Chase Claypool sitting right in front of us. I love getting these guys that were hyper-efficient and very good as rookies. I love taking Claypool here. I mean, this is such a good receiver core. We don't have any running backs. We're thin everywhere else. You can worry about that. But this team is going to score so many points out of these wide receivers. It's just a great start.
I love the build so far, and obviously right now what we have is 5 wide receivers, 1 tight end. Have not addressed running back at all, and I know there's a lot of folks who are maybe watching and saying, "Yikes! Look at the running back. Look at the running backs remaining." We're talking Chase Edmonds, Trey Sermon, James Robinson. Mostert is there. But there are certain guys here now, Ben, that I am attracted to. Like, I love Mostert. I love Damian Harris.
Yeah.
Especially with the build that we have.
James Conner, Zach Moss, these guys are going to play. There's running backs all the way throughout. Gus Edwards. I mean, we can get running back points later in the draft. I'm confident of that. And the point in this build, it is tough, but the point of this build is that you're going to lap the field so much at wide receiver and hopefully at tight end as well with Darren Waller that you don't need massive running back weeks. You don't like everyone thinks you have to win through running backs in fantasy if you haven't tried zero RB. That sort of the detractors. Believe me, you don't need them. I've won plenty of games and plenty of leagues with teams that get very little running back production because the receivers and the tight ends can be that strong. So. I'm stoked about this.
A couple of picks here that raised some eyebrows for me. Deebo Samuel and Trey Sermon going this early. It's not that the value is that bad, honestly. But boy, I am surprised to see Deebo go this soon. I'm definitely surprised to see Trey Sermon go this soon, especially with reports coming out of San Francisco that Raheem Mostert is potentially the starter in that backfield.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely we see three Niners there because Mostert goes as well. Definitely higher than ADP there for a couple of those picks. I like Deebo enough that I think he probably should be around this range. Makes more sense, I think, in PPR just because he gets those jet motion tip passes, those free receptions that are just cake on a stat profile. But he's been fantastically efficient. It's just sort of a health thing with him. As far as the running backs,
healthy, man.
Right. The running backs is tough. We know they're going to kind of rotate. It's why it's kind of the dead zone. I think it's hard to really expect too much from anyone in this range. Probably Mostert and Sermon are going to have big weeks and be useful pieces in best ball, but the receivers you can get in this range, I much prefer. If we make a direct comparison, I much prefer Debo to either of those running backs.
All right, so a couple of high-profile quarterbacks off the board here: Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and again, because there's no streaming, quarterbacks and tight ends, they do have increased value because it is so difficult to, again, kind of sort of, there is no waiver wire that you're playing. You just need those points, and at the end of the day, you got to get points from the quarterback position. All right, one pick away. Ben, what are we thinking?
Well, I'm surprised.
I can't believe Jerry Jeudy's still on the board, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a strong. There goes. I was going to say Russ.
Yeah.
I was surprised. The pick for me here is Laviska Shenault. I am another sort of my guy, brand guy.
Okay.
I think he should go ahead of DJ Chark in drafts. I really do. I mean, we've heard nothing but positive camp reports. He's going to operate as a receiver this year. And, man, we're stacking up week 7 buys though. I haven't been looking at that. But
you know what? That is such a great point, by the way, because in typical redraft leagues, to me, bye weeks don't matter. I don't even care. My entire team can be on bye weeks. I literally don't care. But in best ball, boy, that's tough. You do have to work around it. Yeah. So certainly that is something that we're gonna have to keep our eye on here, because we've got four of our 6 receivers. Oh my goodness, 4 of our 6 receivers have week 7 buys. That's tough.
Yeah, that'll be a tough week. I think every other week though, we're gonna be at full strength. I'm gonna feel pretty good about this roster. Why don't we click over to like some of the other position tabs and just see how we're looking? We got 6 receivers now.
We're round number 8. Quarterback, running back are certainly positions that we could be looking at here.
What's there at tight end as well? Because we do have one good one. Yeah,
it's a little barren.
Out.
Yeah. Not in love with Goddard. Higbee is somebody that a lot of folks are a little bit high on, especially with Gerald Everett out of there as he goes right there. Logan Thomas is going to be somebody else that a lot of folks kind of sort of like to. But yeah, all right. Well, let's go. We're one pick away. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking we can go RB here and start to build that out. I mean, it could be Connor, it could be Moss for me. I think both will play plenty and get usable weeks. Moss has that week 7 bye that we're already pretty stacked at receiver, so I don't really have an issue taking James Conner. I think he's going to play. It's not like an ideal RB1, but if he's in that Kenyon Drake role, I mean, I think we're going to get points, and that's at this point in the draft. That's sort of what we're hoping for.
Well, I mean, again, when you're going 0 RB, and I know it looks a little dicey, and people say, "Oh my God, how can you run out there with James Conner as your RB1?" It's not so much your RB1. It's more of, can these collection of guys cobble together a season for you? You know what I mean? So none of them really are leads, and we kind of sort of understand that in a 0 RB build. But if you attack the position with volume, then that's kind of sort of what you're hoping for.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, the RB1 is one of our receivers. I mean, that's where we're getting that type of RB1 points. Like,
sure.
We got to fill our receiver spots and our flex spots every week. With that receiver depth, and they need to score a lot of points, and I think they will. And then we just got to get some 10, 15-point weeks out of our running backs, and we'll be golden.
By the way, I know we're getting up on it here. 9 picks away. Okay, so we did get a winner. Congratulations to Gem City Gridiron, who guessed I think it's our 5th round pick.
He nailed T. Higgins.
Boom, got it. So there you go. Congratulations, you just won yourself a $25 free $25 entry into Best Ball Mania 2, the $1 million contest from Underdog. All right, 7 picks away. Ben, where are you leaning?
Yeah, I think sort of we cracked the seal on running back. I'm okay waiting at QB. I really like some of the later options there. Okay. I think at some point we need to make a detour and grab a second tight end, so we feel like we have 2 pretty solid ones. Okay. So that we don't have to take a third, and we're probably going to take 3 QBs late with this build because we don't have an elite option. But in these next few picks, I'm definitely starting to look into this running back area and start building out some of these guys that we know are going to have roles and kind of a mix of floor guys like the James Conner types, and then some big swings like the Tony Pollard types we see here.
Yeah.
Could just be monster if something happened to Zeke. So there's AJ Dillon, another great example. If something happens to Aaron, he might already have some standalone value with Jamal Williams.
I think he does.
Yeah,
right.
But those are the upside plays, and then guys like Gus Edwards or James Conner. Then we can we know those guys are going to get carries in half point PPR. They're going to get us points. So
right.
We got to kind of build a balanced running back group now that we don't have a stud, but I think we can build something that has both some floor and some upside, and will be a good enough running back group considering the rest of our roster.
All right, what are we thinking? Here we are, round 9 on the clock. Tony Pollard, AJ Dillon, both available to us.
I think
Darrell
Dillon
Henderson is there
because of that week 7 bye again. I've scared myself off of the week 7 bye. Dylan, I'm very excited about Dylan.
Me too.
You said you like him to have a pretty decent role in the offense as well, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, listen, we're talking about a guy who's, 250 pounds. He ran a 4.5 40. He's an unbelievable athlete. You see the picture of the quads or whatever.
Yeah.
Get excited, baby. Yeah. This dude can run, man. And Jamal Williams now out of town, shipped off to Detroit. And yeah, I think there's a lot of standalone value there with AJ Dillon. And heaven forbid something happen to Aaron Jones. Dillon all of a sudden walks into a monster workload. And I just think, again, look at this position, when you're getting standalone value with upside, in round number 9, I like it. And I like it a lot.
Yeah, me too. I'll tell you who's not going to like it is Twitter. Twitter never likes 0 RB builds, but man, I love this team. It just makes me like it even more.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Okay, so Ryan Tannehill goes off the board there. Logan Thomas. I just think Ryan Tannehill, what's the deal? Like, he's not getting the love, and I just don't understand. This is a guy that had 40 combined touchdowns last year. Gives you a pretty, an okay rushing floor too. Had 250 rushing yards last year. You add Julio Jones to them. What am I missing, Ben? What am I missing here? Like, why is Ryan Tannehill not getting more love?
I'm with you. I don't think you're missing much. 9th round is, he's starting to get some love. I mean, that's not terrible, but
true.
Yeah, he should be right there in that next group after sort of the elite dual threat quarterbacks that the top 7 or 8 that we target in every draft. He should be in that next group for sure.
All right, so we're one pick away. We're a pick away from maybe, and I know he's got that week 7 bye. But Tony Pollard is there. If you're looking at Noah Fant, potentially.
I think Fant is really interesting at this point to get him here in the 10th round and then just lock up tight end. I feel great about Waller and Fant at this price tag. I'd love to get Pollard, but I'm fine taking Fant here and being done with tight end.
I kind of agree with you. When you kind of look at what's left on the board, Gesicki, I think, is a good pass catching option, but I think it's going to be a crowded competition for targets. We don't know what's up with Tua. Is he the answer? Is he not the answer? And then, the only other, guy that you feel comfortable with is probably Robert Tonyan, who did it pretty well last year. But outside of that, I think that's a huge drop off between Tonyan and the rest of the guys.
There's a lot of potential there. I mean, guys like Irv Smith, Gerald Everett in Seattle now, I'm pretty interested about those guys, interested in those guys. But man, to get Fant in the 10th feels like stealing a little bit. I mean, I think there's the upside potential and a little bit more security as well. Okay, so
the other thing is we can pretty much ignore that position now.
Yep.
When you've got Waller and Fant, you're good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And by the way, if you're not good, then something has gone horribly wrong with your team anyways. You know what I mean? So who cares?
We've built such that we need them to be good.
All right, so we are looking now at running back and quarterback. These are 2 positions that we can kind of sort of hyper focus in on if there is. And again, we've got 6 wide receivers. If there is another wide receiver, I think that there's still room for that too.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I mean, I think we can mix in at least 1 or potentially 2 late round receivers, but
Yeah.
Especially with all those week 7 buys, we're probably going to need it. But
Right,
I think those would be a little bit more like flyers. We need obviously the 3 pick. How many picks do we have left? We need 3 QBs still. We got to look there at some point, and at least 3 more running backs.
Right. Oh, at least we would be doing something horribly wrong if we did not get another 3 running backs.
Yeah. That gives us 6 more picks.
Yeah.
We just took a pick in 10, so we have 8 more picks. All right, so at least 3 running backs, 3 QBs. We have 2 more picks after that. I think maybe another running back, at least 1 more receiver as well. When I see this build is what I'm thinking. Yes. And then that last one, I think we could do 5 RBs and just it would be sketchy, but and get up to 8 receivers. But we got to kind of see.
Okay, so now here we are. We're 7 picks away. Some pretty good quarterbacks still on the board here. I know everyone's kind of sort of shying away from Aaron Rodgers, and for good reason. I understand. Like there's a non 0% chance that he misses significant games, right?
Yep.
Just on the holdout or whatever, or even if he does the old Jalen Ramsey, hey, my hamstring hurts deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
By the way, we're totally getting off topic here. We're 5 picks away, but it's like, what? Like, if you're a football player, like, why don't you, like, why are you holding out? Like, I would never hold out. I'd just be like, hey, listen, my back is really tight. I really just can't get out there.
Your MRI's clean. Look, I mean, I can't tell you. I don't know what to say. I can't throw a football.
Why don't people do? I don't get it. Like, use the rules to your advantage. Anyways, whatever. Neither here nor there. Okay. 3 picks.
Let's look at the running backs real quick. Let's just see who's hanging out there. A couple that I like just went in Pollard and Darrell Henderson right behind him.
Yeah. I absolutely love Darrell Henderson this year. And golly, I'd love to kind of, I wish we could have got him somewhere on the squad, but that's okay. Alexander Mattison is somebody who obviously doesn't have a ton of standalone value, but does present a lot of upside. Should something happen, but we are on the clock, Ben. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Nyheim Hines, even though it is half-point PPR, he kind of has that spike week potential. He's got 4.3 speed. He's had a couple games where he's strung together multiple touchdowns, and hopefully he's getting you enough receptions at times, especially because the Colts are so game script dependent in their usage. I think when they trail in games, they're going to be good, I think. But when they trail in games, they'll use him, and he can string together 5 or 6 catches and have pretty solid weeks. So I think we'll get some usable weeks there.
I think at this point in his career, especially with that coaching staff in place, he has earned reps. When he touches the ball, as you mentioned, he's got that speed. He can at times look electric. So I think he has earned reps. I think he will be utilized in the offense. How often is obviously going to be a question mark. But, again, we're looking for players with, spike week potential. And I think certainly Nyheim Hines is that guy.
Yep. Agreed. We have not taken a quarterback yet either. How are the quarterbacks?
We have not. If we're looking at just quarterbacks, Ryan Fitzpatrick is there, which I love. Justin Fields with the rushing ability is there, even though he's not going to play at least week 1. I don't know.
Oh, he just went. That was I wanted to take him. There's a lot of upside to that pick, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think going back to running back, I think Tevin Coleman was there, and why can't he be the lead back for the Jets? I mean, I think that's certainly a possibility.
There's a familiarity there, certainly with the coaching staff,
with the San Francisco coaching staff. He's been a trap many times before. I don't love it, but in the 12th round, it's not a bad pick. Right. There's potential there for sure.
Let me queue up some guys here that again, when you start getting this late in the draft, guys start flying off the board. By the way, it's just a general tip. It's hard to find guys sometimes when you're kind of under the gun. So if there are players that you're thinking about.
Yeah, I think Madison was a great call. Any of these pass catching backs would probably be fine. I like Gio Bernard with how bad Rojo and Fournette were in the passing game last year. I like him to catch quite a few passes. But like the James Whites and J.D. McKissick, and there was another one up there that are all Yeah, Cohen as well. I mean, I think they're all going to catch balls and be fine guys to have on a zero RB type build.
If you're looking for just straight handcuff upside, right? Like Alexander Madison and Chuba seem like the guys,
yep.
right?
Chuba. Yep. That's the other one I was going to say. Keep scrolling down. Is there any more handcuffs? Yeah. I mean, a couple of these guys, Darrington Evans, Ramondre Stevenson, they have certainly some potential. They're a little thinner, I think, as far as picks.
Yeah.
I want to wait a little later in the draft to make those picks, but I don't think they're terrible plays either.
Well, it is interesting.
Javian Hawkins is an interesting. I mean, we don't know what Atlanta's going to do, but like for the last round,
no idea. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've got our guys queued up. 9 picks away. I imagine one of these guys will certainly be there.
Yeah,
we can
how
take a look
about
at
QBs
quarterback
too?
Yeah. Well, what are we thinking? Baker Mayfield is interesting. Ryan Fitzpatrick is certainly a guy that a lot of folks like. And Danny Dimes, good old just Danny Dimes out there. Not a great real life quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. But in fantasy, if you're looking for spike weeks, the guy can run it a little.
Yeah, I think
Fitzpatrick just went.
My top pick here would probably be Tua up at the top. I mean, they've added so many weapons around him. Was obviously a phenomenal prospect. Wasn't great last year, but was coming off that hip injury. I think this offense is going to be better. I think he's going to have some spike weeks with Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle there to make big plays on top of Devontae Parker. They returned pretty much everyone else that were his big targets last year, and then they add right. two new big talents. So he'd be my top one here, but I think Baker, any of these guys are solid. On the comeback, I'm looking at Zach Wilson too. I mean, I think he's a little overlooked. I think the Jets could be better. So that's a couple guys that I think certainly have some upside.
I know that Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill go way late, but I don't know. I'm of the mindset that I just don't think either one of them are draftable at this point. I don't think Jameis is. I guess I'm just confused. We're 3 picks away, but I'm just confused. Like, what he does well is not what Sean Payton has drawn up in his playbook, So it seems like a very odd schematic talent fit to me. I'm not even saying Jameis is the worst quarterback in the world. He's not. It's just what he likes to do is go bombs away. And that's not what they do there in New Orleans. So I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, but man, that offense is good. There's playmakers. It's in a dome. I can see that it's a risky bet if he doesn't play a ton, and I think they might mix it up at times.
Yeah, right.
I think we got to go Madison here. I like these QBs, but man, like we can. I'd really like to get to him as our 5th running back with how thin our running backs are. Another upside swing. Now we have Dylan, Madison. As 2 big upside swings, we have Connor Hines and hopefully Coleman is a guy who has a role at least, and
sure.
Feel really comfortable actually with that running back crew that we built. I mean, it's not great, but I do feel like we're going to have 2 usable weeks every week, and then the receivers can kind of carry the water as far as the upside on the roster.
Yeah, and the good thing too about this running back build too is that, again, just take a look at the bye weeks, right? Like no one's got the same ones, 12, 13, 14, 6, and 7. So you're at least maximizing the potential. You're minimizing the risk when you have a build like that. Obviously, we did not do that with our wide receivers. But that's okay. Talent wins out sometimes, especially in the early part of the draft.
Definitely, okay. Yeah. So Tua goes. We're gonna have to cobble together quarterback. It's definitely a late round quarterback type of a draft, but
right.
There's still names out there. We're gonna need to grab a few though, pretty quick.
Okay, so the 3 guys at the top, quite honestly, the 4 guys at the top are probably the guys that I'm the most interested in: Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold. And again, like we talked about Sam Darnold before, but you're getting him at a discount because of the whole Adam Gase thing. Did he show well on tape? No, but you know what? Neither did Ryan Tannehill when he was coming out of Miami. So that's okay. I think he's going to get a better coaching staff, better weapons, as you mentioned, Ben. So there is, for me anyway, some potential there for Sam Darnold to really overperform.
I'm with you. But Um, I prefer Wilson here because I think Wilson has that potential to be sort of like the Justin Herbert from last year, the guy that is being a little overlooked in this QB class, but the NFL told us they loved him. I mean, the Jets certainly did. They took him second overall. They're going to start him week 1. We know he's going to play. He's got a huge arm. He's going to run. I mean, for all we know, he's going to come out and put up stats right away in week 1.
Sling it.
And be this sort of overlooked guy. So that's the one that I want to take for the upside sort of. And then guys like Darnold, I feel comfortable he's going to put up some numbers and be more of the safety part if we can get him in the next round. The part of this late round.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're at the point where, by the way, if you're watching us, right, it's like we're at the point of the draft now where like, who cares about ADP? Okay, like it doesn't matter. You're getting down to the nitty gritty. There's going to be drafts where Zach Wilson isn't drafted, right? There's going to be drafts where Sam Darnold isn't drafted. That's fine, and it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how this particular draft is going for you. We're going to be making our 15th selection. Coming up here in 13 picks, and it's pretty clear, I think, right? Like the directions that we kind of sort of want to go. We've got 1 quarterback, 5 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. I think we're set at tight end.
Yeah, we're set at tight end. We probably need 2 more QBs with this build. We need another receiver at least. I'm kind of comfortable with these 5 running backs and just sticking with it, but I wouldn't mind adding a running back either. It sort of depends. Where we're comfortable, but with the QB sort of thinning out and Baker goes too, he would have been probably my top option next. But with the QB sort of thinning out, I kind of want to grab another one here and then sort of make those 17th and 18th round picks as flyers.
So what are we thinking? Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, where are we leaning?
It's funny. I'm actually kind of leaning towards Winston. I think there is considerable upside there when he plays because it's a dome offense. They're gonna play fast. They're gonna throw. He's got playmakers around him.
Okay.
I agree with you a little bit that the fit could be interesting. But look, did you hear he got LASIK?
Done and done. I'm sold.
Maybe that'll be the thing. Who knows?
Oh, that's great. Well, I can guarantee you he will be available for us.
Yeah,
I think he will be available.
He's always put up numbers. I think. Again, kind of another home run swing along with Wilson, but I think this is an intriguing way to play quarterback this year with the QB ADPs being really high. I think we built an absolute monster at receiver and tight end. Our running backs are still pretty solid because we continue to push quarterback down the road. And now, can Zach Wilson or Jameis Winston have big weeks? I think they certainly can. And so if you have those 2 guys and then maybe a Darnold as the third part of that, I still feel like we're getting that old school, late round quarterback benefit where we should be able to, especially in a best ball, we should be able to string together some pretty solid quarterback points.
All right, so Jameis Winston here near the end of round 15, back end
Same buy
of round 15.
I keep forgetting to check that, but that's all right.
Weeks. You know what, man? I need to do a better job of checking that. Good Lord, I'm not even the one drafting.
It's fine because we're gonna take. Here? Yeah, we're gonna.
What am I doing?
No, we're gonna take another QB. So that guy will have to have a big game week 6.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so what are we thinking here? We're about 7 picks away. Why
don't you click over to running back and receiver each and just sort of let's get a look at who's hanging out. So there's some receivers there I like. I mean, Jacoby Myers I think is really interesting late in drafts. Did a pretty good job of dominating targets when he was on the field last year.
Sure.
And then we still have Hubbard and Hawkins in our queue as well as potential running back picks. So if we could get a pair of those guys, there goes Jacoby Myers. right as you start talking about.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I think MVS in this format is an interesting guy too, especially when we're talking about round 16. Darius Slayton is somebody else.
I think I would go with Hubbard with you. I mean, if something were to, there he goes.
Oh, come on, guys, what's going on here?
Well, look at the top of the list here, Brashad Perriman or Jamison Crowder. I have no issues with those guys, but I think Perriman in Detroit, like he's been decent throughout his career.
Somebody's got to catch these deep balls, right?
Right. At least lately, he's been better. I guess I shouldn't say decent throughout his career because he was pretty bad early in his career, but
yeah,
he's been pretty good over the last couple of years. I think we'll get some usable weeks out of him.
Okay.
Sort of a good seventh receiver. It leaves us open to take another running back if we want to.
Okay, so I will close down wide receiver because I think we're set there.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that.
And the funny thing is, I after we made the pick, I check his bye week, which is not the way to go, by the way.
Yeah. I did glance at it that time.
Okay, good. All right, good. All right, cool. So when we're looking at quarterback, we got to avoid week 6. The week 6 bye, we got to avoid it.
Yeah.
All right, but what are we thinking here? We're a good 10 picks away now, but running back, quarterback, certainly, with our last, handful of picks here, are areas that we need to address.
Yeah, and man, the Rashad Penny health situation is so unknown, but you kind of have to like his potential if he does get healthy. That's a guy I would definitely take here. I mentioned Evans and Stevenson earlier. There goes Evans as potential sort of upside plays, young running backs that, if opportunity opens up. And then, yeah, I think to your point at QB, I'm fully comfortable taking Darnold. He's still there, right? Did he go?
I don't think so. No, he
went. We lost him. All right.
I don't know where he went. I wasn't keeping totally
I missed
an
it.
eye on that.
No, we played quarterback chicken. Yeah, Jared Goff is the only other the QBs went in this draft.
That's this is what happens, when you play this game, sometimes you get burned.
Yeah,
we're 5 picks away, but there's not a ton to love in terms of what is left on the board. Unfortunately, Jared Goff is our only surefire. Yeah, for sure, this guy is the starter. Taysom Hill, rotational guy. Cam Newton, Mac Jones, we don't know yet. Teddy Bridgewater in that quarterback situation in Denver, we don't know yet. Jordan Love, no. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to be fighting Trey Lance for reps. So there's not a whole lot here. If we're looking at a third quarter,
Tyrod Taylor. We don't know what's going to happen in Houston, but Tyrod Taylor.
I'm willing to pull that trigger.
Yeah, in
if
the
that's
18th
what we're
round.
thinking.
With the 2 week 6 buys, we certainly need to grab another quarterback that we think is going to be starting in week 6. So
right,
Jordan Love. More QBs have gone in this draft than I typically see. Usually there's a little bit of room here in the 17th, 18th round to grab some starters, but
some wiggle room, but not a whole lot here today. All right, so we're basically on the clock, man. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Goff. I think that's sort of the clear pick. We know he's going to play. All right, good. He didn't. I didn't want to say it out loud and get sniped, but I think we got to take him. He's going to start. We took Perriman. Now we've got a Detroit Lions passing game stack. We
got the Detroit Lions stack. Perfect.
Jared Goff is about the least sexy quarterback you can ever
stack
have.
In all of the least you stack in all of fantasy.
And the least sexy stack to go along with it. It's not ideal.
No, it is not.
So what do we have at running back?
All right, so at running back, all right, let's take a look.
Who's available? Yeah.
Golly, again, running a little thin, as you would imagine.
Yep.
In the 18th, as we enter the 18th round here.
Who's available at receiver? I know we're already pretty deep there, but
kind of sexy. I kind of like what you're thinking here, maybe.
Yeah, our 5 running backs, they're not great, but I feel okay about them, to be honest. I think you can get away with 5 running backs in best ball. But our top end receivers are so good, it does feel kind of like a wasted pick to grab another receiver.
Yeah, just because when will any of these guys remaining, whether you believe in Amari Rodgers or not, whether you think Deshaun Jackson's got some pop weeks in him, which I think he does. How many times will they be able to crack the starting lineup when you're looking at Diggs and Lamb and DJ Moore, Claypool, LaVisca. That is a tough starting roster to crack right there.
Yeah, so I think we got to go running back. Ramondre Stevenson went. That was the guy that I was going to say. So I think Damian Williams is vaguely interesting at this point. A few of these guys are. Samaje Perine was okay last year with Joe Mixon out. No one's drafting a second Cincinnati running back. I just did their projection today as well, and I feel pretty comfortable that he would be their number 2. I mean, they have Trevion Williams as well, and
but he's more of that scat back type guy. You know, Perine he's a little bit of a wrecking ball. And if I'm 100% honest, people who know me from back in the day, like, I had this weird, love affair, infatuation with Samaje. Like, I don't know what it was.
It's destiny. That's our perfect 18th round pick. He's your guy. If Mixon misses time, and as much as people really love Mixon's potential for a workhorse role, he's always had trouble staying on the field. If he misses time, Perine's going to have usable weeks.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. All right, that's our draft, man. That's our draft. Let's take a look at what we did. All right, so early on, obviously, we just go heavy into wide receiver. I'm just watching some of these last picks kind of come off the board. And it is always so interesting, like who are the flyer guys are going to be. Anyways, but yeah, we went Stephon Diggs, Darren Waller off the top, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, T. Higgins, Chase Claypool, LaVisca Chenault, just heavy into the wide receiver pool there. And then we address the rest, right? James Conner, A.J. Dillon, Noah Fant, Nyheim Hines, Tevin Coleman, Madison, who again presents a lot of upside should anything befall Dalvin Cook, who, oh, by the way, I know he was largely healthy last year, but prior to last year, it's like, come on now. I mean, even going back to high school, we're talking about a guy that has a very extensive injury history. So got a ton of work last year, ton of volume. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses a little bit of time here in 2021. But yeah, Zach Wilson, Jameis Winston. Look, clearly, and Ben, I think you would agree, we didn't do good at quarterback. We did not do good at quarterback.
If I knew that this was going to be such a quarterback-heavy draft, this wouldn't have been the draft to wait so late. No. But yeah, It's interesting as you look at this board, there are a few people that had sort of a similar strategy. It's been a pretty running back-heavy year. But up near the top, there were a few other people who didn't. I mean, the pick right after us has Antonio Gibson in the second round, but 4 non-running backs in the first 5 rounds. The pick right before us doesn't take a running back until round 5. So both of those were sort of modifications of 0 running back and fairly similar, which led to people doing more late round quarterback and sort of on the same track that we were on. It didn't make it the most efficient way to employ what we wanted to employ because there are some other people doing sort of the same thing. But I still think it came out okay. We still have upside in Zach Wilson and Jameis Winston. I can tell myself a story that either of those guys could be pretty solid quarterbacks this year. And then also we have Jared Goff, who's just like so immobile and also
he's there.
A very efficient passer. And God, he's not a good guy to have in fantasy football, but we needed a starting quarterback.
I mean, that's the problem, It's like, golly, some of these quarterbacks, man.
I was with you on Darnold. Maybe we were talking about him a little too much. Someone was watching the stream and scooped him up because usually he sits there.
I agree with you. Look, here's the problem, right? Let's go to round 12. Okay, we're thinking Justin Fields. He gets sniped. Yep. That changes our draft look considerably.
Yeah.
Like, replace Tevin Coleman with Justin Fields right there, and I love this roster.
Yeah, and then I think we go Wilson, and then instead of Winston, we probably take Darnold because at that point you have the 2 upside guys in Fields and Wilson, and you're probably just more comfortable with Darnold instead of Winston as sort of the safety third quarterback. That would have probably been our 3 QBs, and I would love a Fields, Wilson, Darnold quarterback trio. I mean, I think that has considerable upside and has some safety to it. Wilson's going to play the 16 games. You have 2 quarterbacks that are the 17 games. You have 2 that are going to probably play all 17 games in Darnold and Wilson. And Fields is along with Wilson, both have a ton of upside. So, that would have been a really fun quarterback trio.
Yeah, that would have been it. And isn't it interesting too, Ben, like how one pick can change your entire draft?
Yep.
You know what I mean? If we land into Justin Fields right there, like you said, the cascade effect of ending up with Justin Fields, Wilson, and then Sam Darnold, boy, this roster build is looking way different.
The next round, I didn't expect Madison to make it there at 1308. He did, so we went running back again. But if he goes, which I would have anticipated, and if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 picks before, there wasn't a single running back taken.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kind of pushed Madison all the way back around to us. But if he goes, then we were going to take Tua. And I would have been really comfortable with a Tua Zach Wilson 1-2 punch as well. But as it stands, our quarterbacks, we got bit a little bit playing quarterback chicken. I still think this team can be better than it looks on paper.
I think it's a very good team. Unfortunately, it is extremely difficult to win without elite quarterback play. And again, we're trying to cobble it together. I just don't know if we've got enough,
Hey, Jameis got LASIK.
We've got enough.
I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you heard.
Sold. I'm sold. But I just don't know if we've got enough horses in the stable to carry this team, man. But I will say, it's going to be, it will be interesting. But look, hey, listen, in best ball, and again, you're first or you're last. So, hell, even if this team ends up, second or last, who cares? It's like you're writing these lottery tickets and you're hoping one cashes. It's all good. But hey, can we take the time and break down some of the other drafts that we've got going on? And by the way, our guy Sal Pal on the backboards there, fly up that info again in terms of the promotion, because I just think it's what a deal it is. If you deposit $10 in a new Underdog Fantasy account, you're going to get that 4 Pro sub. You're going to get 25 Underdog bucks. All you got to do is use that promo code BBL. And look, clearly it pays for itself, man. Like, what are you doing? Just deposit $10 into a new Underdog Fantasy account. Use that promo code BBL. And by the way, if anyone's watching on the 4for4 account, if you guys would follow me on my YouTube page at James Koh, it would be very much appreciated. Got a lot of content coming out on that channel as we get a little closer to draft season and the season start as well. But Ben, take a look at some of these other teams and tell me where you feel like, okay, this guy had a very strong team. This guy may have maybe not so strong.
Yeah, go ahead and expand that draft board if you don't mind, so we can see. Oh no, that's not how that works.
No. Actually, but we can change this up. Give me 1 second.
I wanted to see a little later. I saw a couple teams there that were interesting. Wanted to see sort of how the rest of their drafts played out.
Hey, Sal, give us that 2 shot for a second as I kind of set this up. All right, hold on. Here we go. So I am going to share this screen here with you guys. I think we got it going on. No, that's not it. Hold on.
I've created a massive confusion here.
No, that's okay. I mean, and again, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That's okay. Is that it? Hey, we got it, baby. Let's go. All right.
There it is.
All right. So you take a look at the bigger, expanded draft here.
Right. Team 2 here, I really like. I like the Cook-Kittle start. I talked about liking Kittle. I really like CEH in the 3rd round. Before you get into sort of that running back dead zone, he's a guy that, look, we're taking him in the 1st round last year. I don't think his situation's changed a ton. So you get the 2 early running backs that I like both. And then he's just, does a good job of really starting to build out receiver. Don't necessarily love Antonio Brown in the 8th round. I don't hate it, but
that seems early.
Yeah,
seems
Juju Smith-Schuster goes in the 9th. I would probably take Juju there. But yeah, Dak and Gallup as a little stack there. I thought that was a pretty good start. And then anyone that doesn't spend a lot of capital at running back early, I tend to like. So the two that drafted around us, what was the start right after us?
Kelsey, Gibson. Yeah.
And then a few receivers. I liked that. I still think this is kind of thin at receiver because he goes quarterback and then two more running backs. Mooney and Moore I like, but
I was going to say he's got Twitter darlings in Darnell Mooney and Elijah Moore, who fantasy Twitter, real life football Twitter loves Elijah Moore too. So, I think that name certainly pops out there. Honestly, if I'm looking, Ben, and again, it's hard, when you're at the turn, but Team 12 to me, you want to get your guys, and I understand, but golly, every single pick seemed like a little bit of a reach.
Yeah. I'm not super high on Chubb. I wouldn't take him at the 1-2 turn. I mean, in half-point PPR, it's a little different, but that profile's tough. And you mentioned, I have some concerns about Akers too. You mentioned having some. I don't mind Evans and Woods, but yeah, I would prefer like DJ Moore, who we took in the 4th round there. Yeah, it's not my favorite team. I agree.
And again, I get it. It's hard when you're sitting there at 12. You got to take your guys, and if you feel like these guys aren't going to come around to you, I get it, but there just are just some of these picks, I just feel like, again, like you're really thinking DJ Chark there at in the end of the 5th round, early 6th. I don't think he's going to outperform that ADP, right? So it's just, to me, there's just some picks in here that it's just awfully tough for them to kind of outperform where they were drafted.
Sure. Another one I wanted to highlight is definitely the hyper fragile build here. We got the true kind of hyper fragile in the 6th spot. They went Zeke, Najee, J.K. Dobbins, and then didn't take another running back. Went Julio, Galladay, or didn't take another one at least for a while. I don't know if they took one late, but Julio, Galladay, Lamar, Devonta Smith, Tyler Boyd, Marquise Brown, Pittman definitely built out that receiver core. The Aaron Rodgers pick will be interesting. There's a pair of tight ends that come up here, Tanyan and Everett.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah,
Tariq Cohen was the only other running back on that roster, so really is going to rely on those top 3 hyper fragile type build. 4 quarterbacks as well is really interesting. Getting Daniel Jones and Jordan Love. That's
not good.
Yeah, I don't know that.
If you're looking at why we didn't end up with a better quarterback room, it's because this team took them all.
Yeah,
what are you doing? Look, here's my thing. If you are investing early capital into Lamar Jackson and then follow that up with Aaron Rodgers a handful of picks later, there is no point, I think, in you taking a Daniel Jones or you taking a Jordan Love, especially not with the way that your running back roster is looking there. Zeke, Najee Harris. And by the way, I absolutely adore Najee Harris. And I think that actually is an appropriate price for him, although it's earlier than you're seeing in a lot of drafts. That middle of the 2nd round, a lot of times he's falling to the end of the 2nd, mid-3rd. But I do love Najee Harris this year. But as you mentioned, though, he is still an unknown commodity, but running behind a pretty bad offensive line. J.K. Dobbins and your only other running back is Tariq Cohen. Boy, oh boy, you have to completely ignore quarterback and just address and hammer running back at that point. I don't know. That's as you mentioned, that's tough. That's a tough build for me.
Yeah, I totally agree on the Daniel Jones and Jordan Love points. I mean, if you're going to make the Rodgers pick, you can't take Love. Like if you need Love, then you're kind of in a bad spot that you took Rodgers in the 11th round.
Right.
When you take these types of moves, you got to realize you're one of 12 people in the league. You're trying to win the league. And so you're already starting with an 8.3% chance or whatever it is. You're trying to make picks that increase that chance. If you take the Rodgers pick, you're saying Rodgers is going to play. If not the whole season, a lot of the season. And that's how my 8.3% is going to go up because I'm going to get really good value there. How you sort of ruin that pick is when you then play it like you don't know if Rodgers is going to play, and you take a Daniel Jones and you take a Jordan Love because now there's really no point to. I mean, the only reason I would take Jordan Love is if I was playing it as if Rodgers wasn't going to play, in which case it would be a roster that didn't have Rodgers.
That's exactly
obviously.
right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. So a couple of struggling, or at least curious builds, there, I think that kind of sort of, jump out to me. I got to be honest with you. It's interesting drafting with somebody else. And what I love about it too, it's like I get a different perspective and a completely different team. Like, Underdog does a good job of sending you these exposure reports or whatever it is, I guarantee you my exposure report on this one is going to look completely different than my exposure on different players in different drafts, So I really I like doing it this way. It was a lot of fun, Ben. And certainly I learned a lot just kind of sort of sitting back and listening to you and getting your takes on some of these players, man.
Well, I appreciate it, man. This was a blast. I hope the Zero RB team comes through big all season. These quarterbacks and these running backs that aren't quite as good as we were hoping for. But
listen, man. I'm all about Zero RB, but unfortunately, Ben, I can confidently say this team is going to struggle to win this league, and it just comes down to quarterback. We got bit. We really did. It's like we're playing quarterback chicken, man, and sometimes you get burned, and I think that's kind of what happened to us in this draft, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I do think the receivers we built are going to have firepower. I think the Waller Fant tight ends are going to gain us points on the field at tight end.
Huge.
And I think the running backs are better than people realize when they think about Zero RB and they start to panic in the 4th round and the 5th round and think they got to get a running back. We did a pretty good job, I think, of building a pretty strong running back core that has some safety and also some upside, and shouldn't get us absolutely lapped, at least. Hopefully keeps us within shouting distance of the better running back teams at that position. Obviously, we're not going to be as good as the Christian McCaffrey teams or the Dalvin Cook teams at that position.
Right.
We can gain it back at receiver, I think.
Yeah, look. At every other position other than quarterback, I think we smashed it. That's great. I love the roster overall. But anytime you go Zero RB in a best ball league, you got to get quarterback production. Got to get it. It's got to happen. And as you mentioned, you will not find a more devout Jared Goff defender than myself. But even as that guy, I know that in best ball, he's not a good pick.
Yeah. It doesn't really have the ceiling with no mobility. I just was noticing as well, a little higher up, we were talking about taking Russell Wilson, and he went one pick ahead of us in the 7th. There were several times we were about to crack the quarterback seal, and we just sort of didn't get the opportunity to do so. So that you win some, you lose some, but
exactly.
Jameis Got LASIK. That's the title of this stream.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Hey, Ben, it was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate the time. And listen, follow him on Twitter. He's an awesome follow. If you're not following him, I always learn a lot by following Ben and seeing what he's got to say. So please follow him there. And again, if you're watching it on the 4for4 stream, I would love and appreciate if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. All right, for Ben Gretch, I am James Koh. We will see you next week. See you guys.